1910.1018 Appendix A. Inorganic Arsenic Substance Information Sheet. I. Substance Identification. A. Substance. Inorganic arsenic. B. Definition. Copper acetoarsenite, arsenic and all inorganic compounds containing arsenic except arsine, measured as arsenic As. C. Permissible exposure limit. 10 micrograms per cubic meter of air as determined as an average over an 8-hour period. No employee may be exposed to any skin or eye contact with arsenic trichloride or to skin or eye contact likely to cause skin or eye irritation. D. Regulated areas. Only employees authorized by your employer should enter a regulated area. 2. Health hazard data. A. Comments. The health hazard of inorganic arsenic is high. B. Ways in which the chemical affects your body. Exposure to airborne concentrations of inorganic arsenic may cause lung cancer and can be a skin irritant. Inorganic arsenic may also affect your body if swallowed. One compound in particular, arsenic trichloride, is especially dangerous because it can be absorbed readily through the skin. Because inorganic arsenic is a poison, you should wash your hands thoroughly prior to eating or smoking. 3. Protective clothing and equipment. A. Respirators. Respirators will be provided by your employer at no cost to you for routine use if your employer is in the process of implementing engineering and work practice controls or where engineering and work practice controls are not feasible or insufficient. You must wear respirators for non-routine activities or in emergency situations where you are likely to be exposed to levels of inorganic arsenic in excess of the permissible exposure limit. Since how well your respirator fits your face is very important, your employer is required to conduct fit tests to make sure the respirator seals properly when you wear it. These tests are simple and rapid and will be explained to you during training sessions. B. Protective clothing. If you work in a regulated area, your employer is required to provide at no cost to you, and you must wear appropriate, clean, protective clothing and equipment. The purpose of this equipment is to prevent you from bringing to your home arsenic-contaminated dust and to protect your body from repeated skin contact with inorganic arsenic likely to cause skin irritation. This clothing should include such items as coveralls or similar full-body clothing, gloves, shoes or coverlets, and aprons. Protective equipment should include face shields or vented goggles, or eye irritation may occur. 4. Hygiene facilities and practices. You must not eat, drink, smoke, chew gum or tobacco, or apply cosmetics in the regulated area, except that drinking water is permitted. If you work in a regulated area, your employer is required to provide lunchrooms and other areas for these purposes. If you work in a regulated area, your employer is required to provide showers, washing facilities, and change rooms. You must wash your face and hands before eating and must shower at the end of the work shift. Do not take used protective clothing out of change rooms without your employer's permission. Your employer is required to provide for laundering or cleaning of your protective clothing. V. Signs and labels. Your employer is required to post warning signs and labels for your protection. Signs must be posted in regulated areas. The signs must warn that a cancer hazard is present, that only authorized employees may enter the area, and that no smoking or eating is allowed, and that respirators must be worn. 6. Medical examinations. If your exposure to arsenic is over the action level, 5 micrograms per cubic meter, including all persons working in regulated areas, at least 30 days per year, or you have been exposed to arsenic for more than 10 years over the action level, your employer is required to provide you with a medical examination. The examination shall be every 6 months for employees over 45 years old or with more than 10 years exposure over the action level and annually for other covered employees. The medical examination must include a medical history, a chest X-ray, during initial examination only, skin examination and a nasal examination. The examining physician will provide a written opinion to your employer containing the results of the medical exams. You should also receive a copy of this opinion. The physician must not tell your employer any conditions he detects unrelated to occupational exposure to arsenic, but must tell you those conditions. 7. Observation of monitoring. your employer is required to monitor your exposure to arsenic, and you or your representatives are entitled to observe the monitoring procedure. You are entitled to receive an explanation of the measurement procedure and to record the results obtained. When the monitoring procedure is taking place in an area where respirators or personal protective clothing and equipment are required to be worn, you must also be provided with and must wear the protective clothing and equipment. 8. Access to records. You or your representative are entitled to records of your exposure to inorganic arsenic and your medical examination records if you request your employer to provide them. 9. Training and notification. Additional information on all of these items plus training as to hazards of exposure to inorganic arsenic and the engineering and work practice controls associated with your job will also be provided by your employer. If you are exposed over the permissible exposure limit, your employer must inform you of that fact and the actions he is taking to reduce your exposures.